Katie Janess and her dog were stabbed to death on this date in 2021.
Police sources say what happened to Katie Janess is simple.
This crime was extremely gruesome.
Katie Janess, a compassionate artist, and her loyal dog, Bowie, were found brutally murdered in Atlanta's Piedmont Park. A crime that shocked and horrified the community. The scene was beyond disturbing. Katie suffered over 50 stab wounds, her body marked with horrifying carvings, leaving a haunting imprint on the city. This was not just a murder, but a gruesome nightmare, raising unsettling questions. Who could commit such a barbaric act, and how did they evade capture in such a public space? Once a haven of peace, Piedmont Park became the backdrop of a chilling mystery with no resolution in sight. What truly happened to Katie Janess and her beloved Bowie, and why is the perpetrator still at large? Katie Janess, a 40-year-old bartender, was much more than her profession. She was a gifted artist, a talented songwriter, and a self-taught guitarist who channeled her creativity into everything she did. Known for her kindness, intelligence, and a warm personality, Katie was deeply loved by her community. She was a staunch advocate for social justice and a source of inspiration to her friends, who described her as a beautiful spirit with a profound appreciation for life's simple joys. Katie shared a loving, long-term relationship with her fiancé, Emma Clark, and together they cared for Bowie, their 3-year-old pit bull. Bowie was more than just a pet. He was Katie's constant companion and protector. Piedmont Park was a cherished space for Katie, offering her solace and connection with nature. Her regular walks with Bowie were moments of peace and reflection, making the park feel more like home than just a public space. On the night of July 28, 2021, Katie decided to take Bowie for a walk, a routine she had followed countless times before. Surveillance footage later captured Katie and Bowie crossing the vibrant Rainbow Crosswalk at 10th and Piedmont, a well-known symbol of unity and pride in the city. Neither of them could have anticipated the horror that awaited them. When Katie failed to return home that night, Emma Clark became increasingly worried. It was unlike Katie to disappear without communication. After receiving no response to her texts and calls, Emma used a location app to track Katie's phone. The signal led her to Piedmont Park, near its 10th Street entrance. What she discovered there would change her life forever. Katie and Bowie were found lifeless, their bodies lying near the park's entrance, a harrowing scene that shattered Emma's world and left an indelible scar on the community. The scene was described by authorities as both horrific and almost unfathomable. Katie Janess had endured over 50 stab wounds, and the letters F, A, and T were disturbingly carved into her torso. Her injuries suggested an attack fueled by intense rage and possibly a personal vendetta. Beside her, Bowie, her devoted dog, had also been savagely killed, likely in an attempt to protect Katie during the assault, an act of loyalty that tragically cost him his life. The sheer brutality of the crime shocked even seasoned investigators, and Piedmont Park, once a place of solace for Katie, was now a haunting reminder of unimaginable violence. The murder of Katie Janess and Bowie sent shockwaves through Atlanta, prompting an immediate and intensive investigation. The Atlanta Police Department, with support from the FBI, launched a high-profile effort to solve the crime. From the outset, however, the investigation faced daunting challenges. When officers arrived at the scene, they were confronted with a level of violence that was difficult to comprehend. The cryptic letters carved into Katie's body hinted at either a deeply personal motive or a calculated act, yet the killer left no clear trail. Compounding the difficulty, the park's surveillance cameras, potentially vital to the case, were not operational that night due to outdated technology. With no video footage of the attack, investigators had to rely on witness statements and forensic evidence, both of which yielded little clarity in the early stages. In an effort to generate leads, police released still images from nearby surveillance footage showing Katie and Bowie walking near the park shortly before the attack. They urged the public to come forward with any information, no matter how minor it seemed. The case quickly captured public attention. Community members expressed their fears and frustrations, and a $10,000 reward was announced for tips leading to the perpetrator's arrest. Flyers were distributed, vigils were held, and social media buzzed with theories. Despite the widespread outreach, actionable leads were scarce. Tips trickled in, but failed to bring investigators closer to solving the case. As weeks passed, the investigation grew increasingly difficult. No eyewitnesses came forward, and those who were in or near the park that night reported nothing out of the ordinary. This lack of first-hand accounts left detectives with little insight into Katie's final moments. Forensic evidence, a cornerstone of modern criminal investigations, offered few breakthroughs. While investigators collected DNA samples from Katie, Bowie, and the crime scene, none yielded conclusive matches. Speculations swirled about the cryptic letters carved into Katie's torso, sparking theories about whether the attack was personal or symbolic. Some wondered if her murder was a hate crime tied to her LGBTQ+ identity, while others speculated that the brutality and precision pointed to a disturbed individual acting without a personal connection to her. Bowie's death added another layer of mystery. Some believed the killer may have known Katie or sought to eliminate Bowie as a potential threat. Others argued that the dog's death reflected the chaotic and frenzied nature of the attack. Despite exhaustive efforts, the case remained a chilling puzzle, with investigators unable to untangle the motives behind such a heinous act. The community's questions about who could commit such brutality and why remained unanswered, leaving Atlanta haunted by the loss of Katie Janice and Bowie. Investigators faced a daunting challenge as the case remained shrouded in mystery. The lack of functional cameras at the crime scene and the absence of clear evidence left them with few leads to pursue. Meanwhile, public pressure mounted and fear rippled through the community. Law enforcement faced an uphill battle to provide answers, but despite a steady stream of tips, most proved to be dead ends, leaving both the public and police increasingly frustrated. The investigation appeared to stall, fueling fears that Katie and Bowie's killer might evade justice. Yet, authorities maintained that the case remained active, vowing to exhaust every lead until the truth was uncovered. The release of Katie Janice's autopsy report sent shockwaves through both the investigative team and the public. The report detailed a horrifying level of violence, painting a grim picture of her final moments. Katie had been stabbed over 50 times, with at least 15 wounds concentrated on her face. Most chillingly, the letters F, A, and T had been carved into her chest, sparking questions about the attacker's motive. Forensic experts suggested that such brutality often indicates extreme anger or a deeply personal vendetta. Defensive wounds on Katie's hands revealed she had fought desperately against her attacker, adding another layer of tragedy to the horrific narrative. Experts noted that the mutilation and overkill pointed to a perpetrator consumed by intense rage. This was no opportunistic crime. It appeared calculated and deliberate. Yet the absence of more concrete evidence left the exact motive elusive. The grim details sparked a wave of unsettling theories. Some speculated that Katie's murder might have been a hate crime, targeting her for her LGBTQ+ identity. The ambiguous letters carved into her body fueled further speculation about whether they held a specific meaning or message. Others theorized that the crime could have been the work of a random predator, a shadowy figure stalking the park under the cover of darkness. The brutality of the attack and the lack of apparent personal connections raised fears that the killer might strike again. Bowie's role in the attack became a key point of discussion. Investigators questioned whether the dog might have recognized the attacker, hesitating to defend Katie due to familiarity, or if Bowie had been killed first to eliminate him as a potential threat. Understanding the dog's behavior during the attack was seen as a potential clue to the killer's identity and motive. As news of the crime spread, fear and unease gripped Atlanta, particularly among women and members of the LGBTQ+ community. Piedmont Park, once a symbol of peace and safety, now represented vulnerability. Women questioned their security in public spaces, and LGBTQ+ individuals feared being targeted. The brutal nature of the crime left a city shaken, demanding justice and answers in a case that remained painfully unresolved. The community's reaction to Katie and Bowie's tragic deaths was immediate and deeply emotional. Vigils were held to honor their memory, with mourners demanding justice and expressing a chilling fear. "This could have been anyone," a local resident remarked at one gathering. The widespread grief underscored how profoundly Katie's murder resonated across Atlanta. The crime also drew sharp criticism of the city's public safety measures, particularly in Piedmont Park. Residents were outraged to learn that surveillance cameras in the park had been inactive on the night of the attack due to outdated technology. Many believed functional cameras could have provided crucial evidence to solve the case. In response, city officials moved quickly, installing over 30 new surveillance cameras and promising increased security patrols. However, for many, these actions came too late. Trust in the park's safety had already been deeply shaken. Advocacy groups seized on the tragedy as a call to action. LGBTQ+ organizations and women's safety advocates pushed for greater resources, awareness, and protective measures for vulnerable communities. The case served as a grim reminder of the dangers that linger even in spaces that feel familiar and secure. As weeks turned into months, the unsettling details of the case continued to fuel speculation. Was this a random act of violence, or was Katie specifically targeted? The lack of answers left a haunting void as the killer remained at large and the community struggled with fear and grief. Katie and Bowie's deaths became a cautionary tale, a stark reminder of the fragility of safety and the lurking darkness in unexpected places. To date, the murder of Katie Janice and her loyal dog Bowie remains unsolved. Despite relentless efforts by the Atlanta Police Department and FBI, no arrests have been made. Authorities emphasize that the case remains active and that they are committed to finding the perpetrator. Investigators continue to analyze evidence, revisit leads, and utilize advanced forensic technologies in hopes of making a breakthrough. The lack of progress serves as a sobering reminder of how elusive justice can be, even in high-profile cases with widespread attention. For Emma Clark, Katie's partner, the grief is an unrelenting weight. Emma has been a vocal advocate for keeping Katie's story in the public eye. "We just want answers," she said, in an emotional plea, urging anyone with information to come forward. Katie's friends and family have transformed their pain into action, organizing vigils and public gatherings to honor her memory and advocate for justice. A memorial bench installed near the site of the attack in Piedmont Park serves as a lasting tribute to Katie and Bowie. Inscribed with the words "student of life and loyal companion," it is a poignant reminder of lives taken far too soon. Katie's murder has left a lasting shadow over Atlanta, prompting critical conversations about public safety in urban parks. In the wake of the crime, city officials implemented security enhancements, including the installation of over 30 surveillance cameras in Piedmont Park. While these measures are welcomed, they came too late for Katie and Bowie. The case has also amplified concerns about violence against women and the LGBTQ+ community, sparking broader discussions about safety and equality. Advocacy groups have turned Katie's story into a powerful call for systemic change and stronger protections for vulnerable communities. Though the case remains unsolved, Katie's loved ones and the Atlanta community remain steadfast in their pursuit of justice. As Emma Clark once said, "We owe it to Katie and Bowie to keep fighting." Katie Janice's story serves as a chilling reminder of how abruptly violence can dismantle the sense of security we often take for granted. A vibrant life brimming with love, creativity, and hope was cruelly stolen in one horrific act. Her tragic loss, along with that of her loyal companion Bowie, continues to resonate through Atlanta, leaving a grieving community determined to seek answers. If you know anything, no matter how seemingly insignificant it could be, the key investigators need to solve this case. Your voice could help bring justice to Katie, Bowie, and their heartbroken loved ones. For Katie, for Bowie, and for a city still grappling with this tragedy, we must not let this story fade. Honor her memory by sharing her story, speaking out, and working towards a legacy of unity and change. Together, we can strive for a world where acts of violence like this have no place.